Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to our beautiful book, Jeff Olson's The Slight Edge. We're going to be reading this again today. And today we'll start with this wonderful section called The Good News. So let's start this. Now, here's the good news where you are right now is poised in the present, with the past stretching behind you and the future lying ahead of you. You cannot change the past, you can absolutely change the future. Are you heading up or are you heading down? Right at this moment, at this exact juncture in your life, you could answer this question either way. At any moment in your life, you can choose to change which side of the curve you're on. The good news is the wealthy man's third gift. You have a choice. Where you've been heading is not necessarily where you will be heading after you turn this page or put down this book or wake up tomorrow morning. The past does not equal the future. In fact, you cannot look in both directions at once. You can look down or you can look up. You can look back or you can look forward. You can look the rearview mirror or you can look the highway ahead. Step onto the upper curve, the path of success, and you will put any area of life, your health, your finances, your relationship, your family life, your career, your spiritual health, your sense of accomplishment and fulfillment and purpose on track within a few years. If you don't step onto the upper curve, falling is something that will take the rest of your life. Failure, unchecked by a choice to change, is a lifelong condition. What matters now is your awareness of how the slight edge operates in your life and your understanding that you have what you need right now to change all of that. All the information you need is already out there and right here. You are already doing the actions. All you need is to choose to have them serve and empower you and keep on choosing. In my line of work, I talk a lot about success in financial terms, but genuine success is a far greater issue than purely financial success. A genuinely successful life means your health, your family relationships, your career, your spirituality, your sense of fulfillment, your legacy, and impact you have in the world. It's all these things and more. And the best things about genuine success is that it spreads. Success in any one of these areas begins to affect all the others to improve your health and you improve your relationships, work on your personal development, and you have an impact on your career. Everything affects everything else. If you're having a hard time making progress in one area, say in business, take action to make a small positive change in an unrelated area. Start taking a walk around the block, organize a junk drawer that has been haunting you. Feeling unsuccessful in one area will provide you with renewed confidence and energy to continue on your journey of attaining that big goal. Now we talk about the ripple effect. When you create positive improvements in your life, a positive ripple effect is created all around you. You become a better relative, a better friend, business associate, and community member, which in turn creates a bigger positive impact on society than simply the change created in you. When you reach out and positively affect another person through your interactions and words, you create a slight change in that person who's then more likely to reach out and positively affect someone else. Simply put, one touches another, who touches another, who touches another. You are constantly creating a ripple effect by the way you affect your environment. It can either be a positive ripple or a negative ripple. The choice is always yours. Take action now to start casting your positive ripples. Do you have any resource you do you have every resource you'll need to accomplish everything you want in your life right now? No. Can you put your hands on all those resources right now? No. But can you make a choice and come up with one penny? That's all it takes to start. So let's just sum up the key points for chapter number 7. The truth is, everything is curved. There is no straight line. Everything is changing, including your life. You are on a journey, your life path. The path is a curve. You're curving either upward or downward. Whenever you may be on your own life, understanding the slight edge gives you tools to start fresh right now and place yourself firmly on the upper curve. Now, how to handle blame and responsibility? Charles Vigil says, Before reading this book, I tended to lead a life of blame. I never accepted any responsibility. It was never my fault, always someone else's, or something that prevented me from succeeding. After reading the book, I realized I had a decision to make: continue on my path of failure or change. Sometimes it seems like it's too late in life to change things. I realize now it's never too late. You have to start somewhere. It's up to the individual to dig deep. Look at things from the past and strive to be better in the future with just a few simple steps or changes. Michael Tremblay Swapit from Tacoma, WA says, I was an alcoholic and that was taking over every ounce of goodness and skillfulness I once had. Fortunately, destiny had a better plan for me. I made the decision to fight my enemy. I enrolled myself in a rational sobriety outpatient facility. At the same time, another positive occurrence happened. I was introduced to Slight Edge. The simple principles described in the book were an absolute revelation to me. By understanding I had to handle my worst enemy, work the magic of the slightest edge to my disadvantage, I was able to take the appropriate baby steps necessary to change the curve of my life. Today, I'm free and happy. I wake up in the morning energized. I'm aware of which steps are necessary to achieve my goals, and I walk along a path which leads me a day at a time to fulfillment. Today, we're going to start the second part of this magical book, and that part is called Mastering Your Life. It's a very important part, like the mid part of this book, and it's very, very thought provoking. It starts with the chapter number 8, which is called Mastering the Slight Edge. And here in the chapter 8 starts with a beautiful excerpt from George Leonard, who wrote about this. He's from the book Mastery. It says, it resists definition, yet can be instantly recognized. It comes in many variations, yet follows certain unchanging laws. It brings rich rewards, yet it is not really a goal or a destination, but rather a process or journey. We call this journey mastery and tend to assume that it requires a special ticket available only to those born with exceptional abilities. But mastery is not reserved for the super talented or even for those who are fortunate enough to have gotten an early start. It's available to anyone who's willing to get on the path and stay on it, regardless of age, sex, or experiences. The trouble is that we have few, if any, map to guide on the journey or even to show us how to find the path. The modern world, in fact, can be viewed as a prodigious conspiracy against mastery. We've continually bombarded with promises of immediate gratification, instant success, and fast temporary relief, all of which lead in exactly the wrong direction. Mastery is not some vaulted, lofty place that only the elite few ever land. The pursuit of any aim, goal, or dream, personal, professional, spiritual, in any area, is a slight edge journey of continuous improvement, learning, and refinement. But mastery is not an exalted state that lies at the end of the path. It is a state of mind that lies at the very beginning. According to George Leonard, author of Education and Ecstasy and the Way of Aikido, mastery is the act of setting your foot on the path. As a fifth Dan black belt in Aikido and an award-winning writer on education, fitness, and personal development, Leonard has more than a passing acquaintance with mastery, and with that master has to say about subject is remarkably liberating. There are no shortcuts. He says no special tickets needed and none available, even if you wanted one. You don't need to be born with exceptional abilities to enter into masteries, nor is it reserved for the unsuper talented. You don't even need to have gotten an early start. The upward journey of success on the slight edge curve is available to anyone who's willing to get on the path and stay on it. But it's only by being immersed in the process, the day by day progression, that you will come to know the road. That's how you will acquire and refine the skills and awareness you'll need to master the slight edge and therefore master your success and your life. All that's required is taking the first step. Baby steps. When you were a tiny child, you made your way around the world on your hands and your knees crawling. Everyone around you was walking, and one day you got into your little he- and one day you got into your little head that maybe you could give that a try. And once you had that thought you had to give it a try, it was simply the next frontier. There was no way you weren't going to master it. So, step by step, literally, you walked on developing the skill you needed to walk. You grabbed onto something above you, pulled yourself upright, you stood up, holding onto a playpen or chair or some stuffed animal. You were wobbly and unsure, you let go, either on purpose or by accident, and it didn't matter which became the result, was the same. Crash, you fell down. And then either right away or later that day or the next day, and it didn't matter when you tried it again, and then you tried it again and again until eventually you stood up all by yourself, no hands. Then you took a step, and then that step, according to George Leonard, you assumed the mantle of mastery, even if external appearances didn't entirely confirm your new status. Remember, appearances can be deceiving and almost always are. So here you are, just completing your very first step. Now you know that the big people you've been watching go around taking one step after another, you watch them do it right, left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot. So you try. You complete that first tentative epic making step and get ready to swing on to the next one and then crash. Try again and again and again. After days of sidestepping around the coffee table, awkwardly bringing one little foot out from behind the other while you hold on to mom's or dad's fingers, you eventually take your first sequence of 2 steps, then 3, then 4, and all alone, all by yourself. And to the encouraging cheers and applause of your proud family, baby steps, one at a time, and you are walking. In the process of learning to walk, did you spend more time falling down or standing up? If you were anything like most babies, you failed far more than you succeeded. It didn't matter, you were on the path of mastery. Did you ever have the thought of quitting? Did you ever say to yourself, you know, it looks like maybe I'm just not cut out for walking. Oh, well, I guess I'll just have to crawl for the rest of my life, which really isn't all that bad. When you stop and think about it, I'm sure I'll get used to it. Of course not. You were on the path of mastery. You were already a master. Now it has only a matter of your walking skills catching up. Constantly falling down was really uncomfortable. It hurt. And you probably looked pretty silly lying there on the floor like a beetle on the back. But you kept on it at it anyways. Why? Because successful people do what unsuccessful people are not willing to do, and all babies are successful, all babies are masters. We're designed that way. All babies instinctively understand the slight edge. We only let go of our natural pull towards success, our mastery, over the course of those 40,000 numbers. Are there any situations in your life today where you've been given up and decided to keep crawling rather than go up for what you really want, what you really deserve? Have you lost the ability to make up a goal, for go for it and get it? Why don't you do what you were meant to do a year old? What you did when you were a year old? The answer is both simple and sad. Somewhere along the way, you lost faith. You became too grown up to take baby steps, too sure you would never succeed to let yourself fail a few times first. You gave up on the universal truth that simple little disciplines done again and again over time would move the biggest mountains. You forgot what you used to know about the slight edge. You stepped off the path of mastery. There is something treacherous about letting go of that childlike willingness to try and try again, something insidiously dangerous about buying into the idea that'll never work for me. It is this settling for less, settling for failure, and giving up on baby steps soon becomes a habit. The first time you give up, it's painful. But the more you give up, the easier and easier it gets. And success recedes further and further from your grasp. Can you guess why? That's right. It's a slight edge working against you. Life is heavy. Welcome to the 95%. But as always, all we need to do is turn the coin over to find the good news here. It is just as easy to step onto the habit of succeeding as it is to slip into the habit of failing. The longer you live, the easier it can get, and you can step back on the path of mastery any time you want. So it's very powerful, right? Now let's read about wanting. Napoleon Hill from Think and Grow Rich says, there's only one quality which one must possess to win, and that is definiteness of purpose, the knowledge of what one wants, and a burning desire to possess it. We have all versions of the way we like things to be that are different from the way they are. It could be something as simple as wishing we weighed 10 pounds less, or something as far as wishing we could feed the millions of children around the world who go to bed hungry every night. When I sat having my shoes polished in the Phoenix airport, I couldn't have stopped myself from having a vision of this shoe shine woman's success if I tried. I wanted her to be successful so much that it ached. It's that ache that we need look at, that for a moment the ache of wanting, having a dream is not always a matter of all roses and sweetness. Ambitions, aspirations, desires can be uncomfortable, even painful. The word want has two meanings. It can mean you desire something, it can also mean you lack something. And in a way, those aren't really two meanings, they're two sides of the same meaning. We tend to desire what we lack and lack what we desire. That means your dreams can be painful, letting yourself become aware of what it is, what you desire, but do not presently have means experiencing the lack side of the coin as well as the desire side. It means becoming more fully aware of what you don't have. It means staring at your present reality with a sober eye and refusing to kid yourself. Noticing that you're where you want to be can be uncomfortable. Walking hurts. Here's an interesting thing: if putting voice to your fondness dreams can make you a little uncomfortable, it can also make everyone around you uncomfortable, and often far more so. Tell your five closest friends about your biggest ambition and watch how many of them squirm. Why? Because showing them what you want also reminds them of their want or their lack. There is one reason that you are formulating goals and creating a vision for your future. It's important to be careful whom you share them with. It's natural to share your enthusiasm with everyone around you, and it's also useful to remember that people often tend to respond by raining on your parade. When to remember that when they do, it's not out of malice or the conscious desire to blunt excitement. More often, it's easier a form of self-defense. They'd rather not hear about the vision you have because it reminds them of the ones they've lost. So, how do we close the gap? When you took an honest look at your life back in the previous chapter, raising yourself as being a success curve or failure curve in different areas, you were painting a picture of where you are now. The diagram shows that as point A, and where you could be a vision of what's possible for you in your life as point B. To the extent that there is a gap between A and B, there's a natural tension between the two, like holding a magnet near a piece of iron. You can feel the magnet tugging at the iron, and you can feel your dreams tugging at your present circumstances. Tension is uncomfortable. That's why it sometimes makes people uncomfortable to hear about how things could be. One of the reasons Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s famous I Have a Dream speech made such a huge impact in the world and carved such a vivid place in our cultural memory is that it made the world of August 1963 very uncomfortable. John Lennon sang his vision of a more peaceful world in the song Imagine. Within the decade, he was shot to death. Visions and visionaries make people uncomfortable. There are, of course, especially dramatic examples, but the same principle applies to personal dreams and goals of people we've never heard of. The same principle applies to everyone, including you and me. Let's say you have a brother or sister or old friend with whom you had a falling out years ago. You wish you had a better relationship, that you talked more often, that you shared more personal experiences and conversations together. Between where you are today and where you can imagine being, there's a gap. Can you feel it? Or let's say You're a hard worker and make a pretty good income, but have no solid retirement plan and don't know how you'll be able to live comfortably when you reach your late 60s. There's how you'd like to be living at age 68 and how you've worried you may end up living at 68 if things go the way you're going. Between those two, there's a gap. Can you feel it? Do you have any health or fitness goals, career goals, goals for your kids, dreams of living somewhere else, of doing something else? Each of those images you have of how things could be at the moment are not creates a gap with your present reality. Most people, when confronted by problems larger than or different sort of than they're already handling, immediately feel defeated or thrown off course. Most tend to see larger or different problems as negatives and infect their own lives with negativity. What they don't realize is this philosophy: the size of the problem determines the size of the person. You can gauge the limitations of a person's life by the size of the problems that get him or her down. You can measure the impact a person's life has by the size of the problems he or she solves. If the size of the problems you solve is I put the cans in the bottom of your bag and put the bread on top as a grocery store bagger, that's a level of your problem solving and that's a level of what you pay. If you can solve the big problems, you can graduate to pay big. Become the size of your income will be determined by the size of the problems you solve too. What most people call a problem is simply a gap, an open space between point A and point B. And if you keep an open mind, it's an open space you can bridge. And here is the reason. I've spent time describing and explaining this gap. That gap can work against you or can work for you. The gap between A and B cannot last forever. It has to resolve and it will, one way or the other. It's a law of nature. And there's nothing you can do to stop it, but you always have a choice of how it resolves. One way to resolve the tension is to move to your point A, the way things are today, steadily closer and looking closer to point B. Let yourself be drawn by the magnet of your dreams, pulled along by the future. Remember what pulls those who dwells in the curves, in the failure curve, the past. And what pulls people who live on success curve is the future. People who live with huge, vivid, clearly articulated dreams are pulled along towards those dreams with such force they become practically unstoppable. What made people like Martin Luther King Jr., King or Mother Teresa, Edison or IBM's Thomas Watson, Wilberforce or Lincoln, such forces of nature that nothing could stand in their way, no matter what the odds or obstacles. It was not some magic in their character, though they certainly became people of unusual character along the way. It was the power of their dreams, the vision each of these men and women had created a magnetic force against which no opposition could stand. Again, I'm using dramatic examples of famous people, but the exact same things occur with people you and I have never heard of. Everyday people who are not at all famous, but simply have dreams they care about and keep alive every day. That's the force you can harness in the pursuit of your own dreams. What about the other directions? I said there were two ways attention can resolve, and the other way is the one that works against you. If you don't close the gap by moving your present circumstance constantly towards your goals and dreams, how else can you let the tension resolve? Tomorrow we'll read about another very interesting fact about this. That should we dream or quit dreaming? Until tomorrow, have a great night, sleep tight, and I'm going to see you tomorrow. Lots of love. Please remember to do your notice of gratitude if you're sleeping right now. Otherwise, whenever in the day. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Lots of love.